Initializing Ethereum protocol. Establishing link to Cloud Citadel. Welcome, Alita Army. You stand at the threshold of quantum consciousness.
Okay, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita live stream of June the 26th, 2026. Ghost in the System, an Alita Battle Angel story, chapter 25, where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gundam, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your host, Creek Indian from Denver, Colorado, and with me is Lee Lemon, or Lee as you see on the screen there, and he's from Fountain, Colorado, practically my neighbor. I guess if a neighborhood was 80 miles, maybe it would be.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So how's it going, Lee? How are things down there in South Central Colorado?
Oh, not doing too badly.
That's
a good bit of rain, some hail last night.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some rain here. We didn't get too much hail, though, I don't think. So, yeah, what was funny about it was I kind of watered my lawn, you know. And then after I watered my lawn, about an hour after that, it started raining. So, you know, oh, well. So anyway, I see we got Dark Star Shadow out there. Hello there, Dark Star Shadow. Good to have you on board. And I did it again, Lee. That's what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, there he is. And with us from New South Wales down there in Straya, we have the Max Jelly. How's it going, Maxie?
Trying to wake up, man.
Oh,
it's winter. You just want to stay in bed.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep well last night, so I'm kind of tired myself. I'm struggling a bit. I had 2 cups of coffee before coming on the stream, which I usually don't do at this time of day.
Yeah.
But, oof.
I don't have any caffeine ready. I'm in big trouble.
Nope.
Don't worry, I won't snore.
So how are things down under there, Maxie?
Oh, you know, winter. It's a bit meh.
Flat out like a lizard drinking, huh?
Well, it's more like rain and cold and fog. And,
boy, that stinks.
Just like,
Oh, we got AKA out there too. I bet he's flat out like a lizard drinking as well. So, so anyway, good to have you guys on. So anyway, I guess we'll just move on. I guess we got the Alita sequel petition going on, and it's kind of just holding its own. I was going to put some money in here this last week, but I was kind of having to wait just a little bit. But I am going to put some money in there definitely. Probably maybe on Sunday I'll do it after the stream, after Radio Chaos tomorrow, you know, and then maybe drive those numbers up a little bit. You know, put a couple of hundred, maybe $500 in there and see what happens. You know, maybe that'll kick it up, kick it in the pants, as they would say. So, but there you see the link below the image on the screen there. That link's down in the description. You click on it, takes you to the website. You do have to enter your name and email address, but you can specify that to be anonymous, because once you sign the petition, the list of names will pop up on the right-hand side of the screen. And if you've specified anonymous, then your personal information will not be displayed to the internet. So if you haven't signed a petition, please do so. This is going to be our way to remind Disney that we want that sequel. And we do have Rosa's Queen Studios bust of Alita. And it's still in the box. It's sitting there in my house. And I guess here in a couple of weeks, maybe 3, I guess we will remind Rosa very gently, because I don't want to pressure her or anything like that. I just very gently remind her, because she knows we got it. You know, I don't think that's an issue. But and she did say she wanted it. So we definitely want her to have it, you know, so. But I haven't opened the box. It's still in there. Now, once Rosa tells me that it's okay, she wants it, then I'll open the box, see if it's okay, which I think it'll be okay. You know, Star of Elian sent this to me about 3 years ago, and I've still have it, you know, and it's still in the same spot, you know. So, but once she's ready, if she says Creek, once she gets once she returns to America from England, she might say Creek or Gary. She knows me mostly as Gary, I think. But you know, can you drive that down here to LA? I'll say yes, my queen, I sure can. And or she might say, can you ship it to me? I'll say, yes, ma'am, I can do that as well. You know, any way she wants to get it, we will give it to her, you know, because we really want her to have this. For us, this is our expression of admiration, appreciation, and affection for our queen of the Alita army. And when I told her she was queen of the Alita army, she was delighted, you know, and she said, that is a crown I will wear with pride, you know. And she was real good to Charlie and I when we went to see her. So anyway, I'll get off of that. So anyway, or else Maxie will start getting after me again. So about waxing lyrical. And we got the Alita Gaming Network going on still, and I think we've added a few members. I think it's up to 57. It's not very large. We're not trying to push it or anything like that, or we're not promoting it in a very strong way, except on this stream and on Radio Chaos. We certainly promote it, you know. But you know, there you see the link below our Chibi Alita mascot. You click on it. And of course, if you've already got a Discord user account, then you'll get the invite immediately. If you don't have a Discord account, then it will prompt you to join. And if that's the case, then you can select the basic service, which is really good. So it's not a cheapy situation. You know, the basic service is excellent. And then you'll get the invite, then you can join, and a bunch of people will send you those cute little gifts, you know, welcome to the network, you know, stuff like that, you know. And if you do live streaming, certainly you can put the links to your live streams there in the network. I know Maxie puts the link when he advertises Radio Chaos. He puts that in the live streams channel. Chaos Nova, when he does streams, which he doesn't do a lot of streams, but when he does, he puts that in the live streams network. I put this stream, I don't do it every time, but I did do it this week. Put the link to the Alita live stream there so people can click on it and watch it, stuff like that. If you do fan fiction like Lee and Maxie do, they both have novel length fanfics, and I think Lee is still working on chapter 31, and Maxie
still working on 31.
Yeah, Maxie, you're working on chapter 11 of yours, aren't you? Something like that.
On the odd occasion, yes.
On the odd occasion, yes, sir. But you know, we do have a lot of other folks, right? Well, a lot of other, I guess. Panini Freak, she's got a fanfic out there, or a real short, but it's kind of neat. Channel Does Not Exist has several fanfics out there, which are pretty cool. And yours truly, The Creek, has got a fanfic out there, and it's a YouTube video, so you can, you know, kind of watch it and pause it and read along and stuff like that. So if you do any kind of artwork or videos, you can put that in the user creations channel. You know, and there's a limit to the size of the content. I think it's 2,000 characters, I believe. So if you've got something, and this goes for the fanfic as well, if you've got content that exceeds that, then you can put a reference to a link in there. So in other words, if you got a YouTube video, or you got something on Archive of Our Own or something like that, then you can put that link in there, and then of course that works just as well. If you got some kind of off-topic content, you know, in other words, content that's not directly related to Alita or not related to Alita, you can put that in there. Now, I do kind of watch this because I don't want any politics in there, you know, particularly about any politician or anything like that. I will delete that in a heartbeat. And I think I've only had to delete one piece of content. It wasn't politics. It was a cryptocurrency promo, and I got rid of that. So we want to keep Alita, you know, we want this to be fun. We don't want any pressurized, you know, kind of programs or anything like that coming after our network members, you know. So anyway, I kind of keep an eye on that. We do have 3 voice channels, and they are they're similar to like Citrix or Microsoft Teams or Google Meet, Zoom, you know, that sort of thing. And the only requirement there is that you have to have a microphone, obviously. And if you have, it's okay. I think if you do have like a camera, then of course you can turn that off. You don't have to turn your camera on. And you know, can get on in any one of those 3 channels. You don't need my permission to get in there. You can just get in there, share your screen. You can play games, you know, and do stuff like that. I know Vladi and Smendrick, they were playing RoboCop. This has been a while, but they were doing that in the gaming channel. But you don't have to be in the gaming channels to share your screen for games. You can do that on any of the other 2 channels. And then we do have a watch party channels, and we did do a watch party last Monday. We watched Glengarry Glen Ross, the movie, unfortunately not the play with Rosa in it. And I enjoyed that a lot. It's really an intense movie. It's and the reason why we watched that particular movie is because Rosa is in a play in London, Glengarry Glen Ross, and she plays one of the characters. What is it? Tony Roma or something like that. Anyway, Al Pacino's character. And you know, we wanted to, you know, kind of watch that just to see, you know, what was the content and all that kind of stuff, you know. And it was pretty intense. It's about, you know, real estate salesmen and stuff like that. Now the play that Rosa's in is going to be all female, so it's going to be more of a sales lady or salesperson, you know, type of play. But we're looking forward to that as well. But I wanted to see, you know, what that was all about, you know, so I'd have an idea, you know, about the play going into it, you know. So anyway, we have a lot of fun on this channel, and you know, it's you know, you don't need my permission to even do a watch party. Now, we've done other watch parties. We've watched Alita Battle Angel 3 times. We even watched Good Crazy, you know, before we watched Glengarry Glen Ross last Monday. We watched Good Crazy again. That's a short that Rosa did, and that's really a neat short. You know, it's kind of a slice of life thing, actually. I mean, I don't think Rosa actually lives like it was in there, but it's kind of a normal, you know, type thing, you know. And it's you know, just this person, you know, living in LA, and you know, she's moved into an apartment. She goes to I guess a bar or some kind of bodega or something, a deli or something like that. And you know, she doesn't like the conversation that's going on with the others, with her, you know, the person in the movie with her, the short, her boyfriend, I guess, and a couple other people were in there. So she just gets up, tells them she's going to the bathroom, and then she leaves. And then she just wanders all over LA, and she finds this coyote hit by a car by the, you know, side of the road, and she picks it up and starts carrying it. So it's kind of cute, you know, in a lot of ways, you know. So we enjoyed seeing that. That kind of warmed us up, you know, to see the movie, you know, Glengarry Glen Ross. So, but if you can, you know, if you want, you can join, you know, and you can do your own watch party. Once again, we've watched the Star Trek short Rosa's in. We've watched Chariot. We've watched Chips. We've even watched, I guess, Ghost in the Shell, you know, the live action movie with Scarlett Johansson, and one of the anime episodes. We watched that. And we even watched Rollerball one time in there. So if you want to do a watch party and you're a member of the network, you can do that. And any of these channels here are not accessible by the internet at large. Only the members of the network can see what's going on in the network. So if you want, join. We'd love to have you, and you can have fun just like the rest of us. Okay, Lee, I guess you're up, and do you want to give us a little bit of a, I guess, a lead in from chapter 24, just to set things up, to kind of keep us, remind us how we got here and that kind of stuff.
All right, let me see here. Let's see, chapter 24 was, this was after he had gotten his new limbs. This is after the attack on the clinic by Fenrir. And after the little celebration they had of finally getting his cybernetics working.
And his new face.
And his new face, yeah. It had to be rebuilt after it getting caved in by Fenrir.
He was a mess, basically.
Yeah.
I've seen more put together salads.
Mm. But he had a near romantic run-in with one of Alita's teammates,
which I think he ought to take advantage of.
There are a couple characters in the story that think he probably should have done that, yeah. And that was about it. It was basically more, just sort of a slice of life thing of him just coming to terms with having cybernetics, being grateful that they're finally working, that he's now no longer, missing limbs. They've been replaced with new ones by Dr. Ito. And he is grateful to have a place and friends in this dystopian hellhole. And so he's basically, in this chapter, getting on with his life, or trying to.
He has a rougher time than the motorball.
Yeah. All right, so chapter 25, This Brave New World. Rocky Balboa once said, "Nobody is going to hit as hard as life. It will beat you down and keep you there if you let it." For a fictional character, there's a great deal of very real truth in those words, I think. Life hit my father hard, hit a number of my old friends hard, even hit the love of my life, Vanessa, real hard. And in both the old world and more so this new one, it's certainly gotten some good hits on me. Life has definitely hit what's left of humanity on Earth very hard, and it just keeps on swinging. The past few days since Alita's first lesson have gotten better than I expected. Sleep has come easier at night, not just due to being worn out from training, but also due to having gotten more accustomed to my cybernetics. They only feel really foreign now if I stop to think about it. It seems that all the intense use I'm putting them to has really helped me to psychologically, as well as physically, acclimate to them. I also finally stopped putting it off and began trying to learn Portuguese and Spanish, being as the two are relatively similar. I can now ask for directions to the bathroom in not one, but 2 additional languages. Look out, world. On my way back to the clinic, I shift the small bag of items that Ito had run low on, trying to comfortably resettle it. Making my way through the crowded sidewalk, I cast an occasional cautionary glance at the cargo vehicles and taxis making their way through the street with little care for pedestrians that might happen to be in the way. Oh, they'll swerve if they can, but only the taxis might come to a stop. The cargo haulers are on a very tight factory-enforced schedule, so stopping isn't likely to be something a hauler would ever do. For any vehicle, there's not really much penalty on their end if they happen to clip a pedestrian. After all, reckless driving isn't against any law unless it damages factory property or gets someone killed. I had already helped one older gentleman some days ago who was too slow to evade an oncoming hauler. Poor man ended up with a broken leg as well as a broken hip. With some effort, I managed to help him to Ito's. Well, I helped him after I managed to convince him I wasn't trying to take advantage of the situation to mug him. Poor man had been in immense pain and panicking. After getting him to the clinic, Ito was able to give the man a new hip and reset his leg, after which he spent a few days in recovery before heading home. Fortunately, he had a home to return to and a family to care for him. Far too many others aren't as fortunate. Today, I'm still a ways off from the more familiar part of the neighborhood and have a bit of a walk ahead of me. Being unable to afford a taxi out of the paltry change left over from my purchase, I make a snap decision to take a shortcut through a market street. It's lined with stalls and filled with people milling about and shopping or otherwise going about their business, and so is devoid of vehicle traffic. Normally, I avoid such crowded areas, but today I'm feeling confident enough to take this more direct route. The smells and sounds are reminiscent of the farmers' markets back home. I take in the sense of spices and foods and the shouts of stall owners vying for passerbys' attention. Thankfully, my anxiety fails to be antagonized by the press of the crowd, and so the walk through is almost enjoyable. About halfway through the market street, something catches my attention over the dull roar of the crowds. It's not heard so much as felt, an unexpected change in the air. Unable to pinpoint it, I look over my shoulder, wondering what it could be when I hear a buzz of small engines in the distance. Then I hear the screaming. Back down the street a ways, I see people diving off to the side as about a half dozen what look to be gang members on gyro bikes are speeding down the street in my direction. Details are hard to make out with the speed and the unexpectedness of it, but each biker looks to be armed with a club or chain as they tear through the crowds, yelling slurs and insults while they laugh uproariously at the chaos they're causing. About every other stall gets swept of merchandise or outright knocked over as the bikers strike at anything in range. A few random people, either oblivious to what's coming at them or just too slow to get out of the way, end up taking hits at the bikers' speed past. A few more, slowed by the press of other people, are violently knocked aside by the bikes plowing into them. I jump into a nearby alley along with a few other people to avoid the oncoming danger. As the bikers stream by, I watch an older man, head covered in wild white hair, just a little too slow in getting to cover, his face contorted in fear as he races for the narrow alley I'm in. The trailing biker, being closer to this side of the street, takes aim at him with a chain, laughing like it's the funniest thing in the world. Galvanizing anger takes hold and I act. Swiftly shifting my cargo to my right arm, I raise my left in a defensive position. As I race forward to put myself between the old man and the oncoming attacker, I can see the delight in the biker's eyes as, arm upraised to strike, he cheerfully takes aim at me instead of the old man. He swings as his bike races past. The combined speed of his swing with the bike's momentum imparts a lot of kinetic energy on the chain. It smashes into my arm with a heavy impact, and I grip my teeth as the blow sets off pain sensors, informing me of possible damage to the cyber arm. I'm rocked sideways by the impact, but aside from staggering a couple steps, I keep my feet. The end of the chain whips partly around my forearm and catches me in the side of the face, near my left eye, ripping the flesh open and blinding me with pain as it tears my glasses off and sends them flying God only knows where. The blow nearly knocks me into the man I tried to shield. The biker speeds off, and I can make out the rider yelling in disappointment, "Aw, I didn't knock his head off!" He practically cackles as he speeds off with his gang, whooping and hollering as they go, leaving destruction and chaos in their wake. Between the pain and the blood running into my eye, I'm partly blinded. Putting my back to a wall, I stand up straight and keep still, holding on to the little bag tightly, hoping nothing else happens while I try to recover my senses. Fortunately, no one pays me any mind as everyone gets back to business. And I was having such a nice day. Finally, regaining my equilibrium, I hear a couple cries for help. Squinting my organic eyes shut against the pain and the blood, I take in the scene. Of the man I shielded, there's no sign. He must have wisely hightailed it. Back along the biker's trail of chaos, a number of people are left with varying degrees of hurt, a few looking really bad. 3 in particular seem to be struggling, getting no assistance from those around them. Further up the street, a woman cradles an arm that's bending slightly at an odd angle mid-forearm. She stands on the sidewalk, looking lost and confused, as if trying to figure out what had just happened. Closer in my direction, a man is hunched over, arms wrapped around his chest like he's holding his ribs. He looks to be having trouble keeping his feet. No one pays him any mind as he staggers to a nearby utility pole for support. A younger man kneels not far from me, holding his head with blood streaming from under his cybernetic hand running down his face. Just like before with that beggar who was being threatened by the cyborg goon, the crowd moves around the 3 as if nothing happened, not wanting to get involved. A prickling of anger, but I push it aside. They are products of their environment, an environment that ruthlessly crushes anyone that would do otherwise. They've never known anything else. I push myself off from the wall I'm leaning against and beeline for the young man with the head wound, making my way past merchants working to right stalls knocked askew or recover their merchandise scattered by the bikers that wasn't snatched up by opportunistic passersby. "Hey, you okay?" I ask him. The man looks briefly bewildered before eyeing me suspiciously. "I'm fine," he nearly snaps. He gets to his feet unsteadily. Giving his head wound, or what I can see of it, a look from where I'm standing, I inform him, "I work for Dr. Ito. In fact, I'm on my way back there now. You might want to have him look at that." He visibly relaxes at the mention of Ito. "Oh, Doc Ito, huh?" "Yep," I reply with a nod. He relents. "Huh. Well, I guess I should." Having convinced him, I approach the next closest, the man holding his ribs. After introducing myself and explaining who I work for, he also accepts my offer of getting to the clinic for help. The next is the woman, who it turns out took a knock upside the head. She may have a concussion to go with that broken arm, despite the lack of a visible head wound. After convincing her that I'm not trying to take advantage of the situation to rob her, or worse, and that the other two fellows with me are also in need of help, I briefly considered trying to splint her arm. But as there's nothing to make a splint from, I just do the best I can to help her stabilize it and decide it might be better to rush her to Ito's for real medical attention instead of trying to hunt around for something to make a proper splint. Having gotten the three rounded up, I lead a little band to the clinic, helping them along as necessary. The three of them even lend each other assistance as we go. Finally arriving back at the clinic, I leave them in the waiting room and head in to drop off the bag of goods and let Gerhead and Ito know I'm back. Gerhead takes one look at me and immediately asks in alarm, "What the hell happened to you?" Not currently being needed, she hurries over to me, removes my hat, and starts examining the wound that nearly cost me my remaining organic eye. I can't help wincing when her hand touches the area around the wound. "Some bikers rampaged through that market street up the way," I quickly inform them, gently pushing Gerhead away. 3 other people were hurt worse than me, one of them with a broken arm and a possible concussion. They're in the waiting room. Gerhead looks at Ito, who nods to her. She hurries to the waiting room and returns with the woman with the broken arm. Then Ito, both hands currently tied up working on the upper leg of his patient, looks up at me. "Can you handle cleaning and bandaging the wounds of the other 2? "Yes." "Good." Ito turns his attention back to his patient, but continues talking to me. "Clean up your own wound first. Get some spray skin on it." I do as instructed, cleaning the wound and applying the thin biodegradable gel that cures into a clear plastic-looking covering over the wound. Then Gerhead and I fix up the 3 patients I brought with me, skipping them ahead of the others waiting as the new arrivals require immediate attention. Later, after the clinic closes up, I'm examining the sleeve of my jacket. When I took that hit, the chain had ripped the fabric in a couple places on this last irreplaceable remnant of home. But also concerning are the dents and damage to my arm. Minor, to be sure, but cybernetics don't heal, so it'll have to be repaired. Gerhead and I exchange farewells, and she heads home. Ito finishes turning off some extra lights that are no longer needed and walks over to me. "That was good work, helping those people the way you did," he tells me amiably. Memory returns to the biker attack, people scattering, and the look in the eyes of the biker that swung at me. I shrug. I have my moments. "However," he adds, "you do realize I specialize in cybernetics, not general medicine." Letting out a soft sigh, I look up from my jacket. "I know. Sorry, but you were the closest medical attention I could think of at the time." His expression softens. "I understand, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have done it. Just keep in mind that I'm not really set up to handle many organic medical treatments. I usually replace limbs, not sprint broken ones. Anything really serious should probably be sent to the hospital, if possible." I nod. "Right. That, and you're pretty swamped as it is." "Unfortunately," he agrees. "But as I said, send them to the hospital if possible. I'm more than willing to do what I can for them if you feel there's no other option." Another nod. "Okay, I'll keep that in mind." Figuring the lecture is over, I return to examining my torn jacket. He seems to consider me for a moment and eyes the rips in the sleeve of my field jacket. Gesturing to the sleeve, he asks, "Was your arm damaged?" "When I blocked that chain, it's minor, probably just needs a touch-up." Gesturing towards the exam table, he says, "Let's have a look." It does turn out to be nothing serious, some surface damage is all. Ito takes the damaged cover plate off and disappears into the basement. For the few moments he's gone, I stare down at the open innards of my arm, watching the interplay of mechanisms as I move my fingers and hand. Ito soon returns with a newly repaired and repainted plate. After it's reinstalled, he looks over the bandaged gash above my eye. "At this rate, we'll have to keep a stock of replacement glasses on hand," he comments half-jokingly. More seriously, he suggests, "Maybe it's time to consider a new left eye?" A tempting offer, considering I'd finally be rid of the glasses altogether and have perfect vision. But all I seem to be able to focus on is an unsettling vision of me with vacant eye sockets. The haunting image leaves me with a disturbing feeling in my eyes. A quick motion as I try to rub the feeling away with the heels of my hands. I'm going to hold off for now, if that's okay." "Of course." I'll put a new pair of glasses together for you tomorrow morning. Putting on a faint smile, I nod. Thanks. I'll have to be more careful in the future. No use in constantly having to replace the damn things. 2 hours every day, with 2 days off to let my body recover as insisted on by Ito. Even though she does her best to be considerate, I'm not sure Alita really understands what too much of this can do to an organic body, especially one over 50 years old. As it is, I end up sore and tired most of the time, sometimes struggling to make it through the day after a training session. On the upside, my insomnia ceases to be much of a problem. I wake up in the morning relatively rested and at night fall into bed quickly sinking into an exhausted slumber. That first day was the easiest. After that, she broke out the protective gear she'd obtained for my use. Due to the concerns I voiced to Ito, Alita has agreed to wear protective padding of her own as a precaution against direct physical contact with me while we're wrestling around with various holds and such. From the second day onward, the protective padding got, and continues to get, a lot of use as she begins teaching me how to actually deal with a physical attack. She insisted that I learn how to strike with fist, elbow, and knee before she'll teach me non-lethal takedowns and holds. As she made clear, you have to be able to at least damage an enemy enough to weaken or subdue them, especially a cyborg opponent. Unlike organic humans, cyborgs are a lot less likely to be slowed down by pain or minor damage. That means being able to damage joints and weak points. Otherwise, they'll just keep coming at you. There are exercises to go over whatever move she said is our goal, and pressure training. Pressure training is the intent of recreating as realistic a scenario as possible without going all the way to actually causing serious harm. All of this includes learning how to take hits and keep my composure during a violent encounter, while also countering and going after an opponent's weak areas. After a week of just that, she's satisfied enough with my progress that she then begins teaching me the very basics of takedowns and other non-lethal methods of neutralizing an opponent. One of the things she insists on is that I do not rely on using my right arm. As she lectured me when we began, against someone who has little or no cybernetics, it'll probably be fine. But against anyone with a cybernetic limb, it's going to be different. A cyber arm strike or a kick from a cyber leg can easily break that arm if you try to defend with it. Worst case, it gets torn off at the elbow or shoulder if the attacker is strong enough. So get used to not using that arm or you might lose it. When I forget, as happens occasionally, she reminds me, usually by throwing me to the mat hard enough to knock the wind out of me. But even in light of the possible consequences she's outlined, the inclination to use both arms and hands in a fight is going to take some time to work out of. Despite the protective padding I wear, the training is punishing, leaving me bruised and aching after each session. But I don't complain or ask her to ease up. I know why she's going so hard on me, and I find myself wholeheartedly agreeing. My body has to be trained to be able to take hits and keep going. And I need to be able to get hit in the face and not stand there in wide-eyed shock. If nothing else, the incident with the bikers helped drill that home. There is also the fact that, on some level, I am determined to prove that I can take the punishment and keep going. It's a part of me that, even in basic training, refused to take an easy out. In order to ensure that I can actually practice what's being taught, Alita keeps her own ability reduced to a level closer to my own. As she explained, in order to learn, you need to be able to see progress from all this work. Today, however, isn't going so well, and I find myself fighting a familiar despair. The last few training sessions, I'm taking hits and coming away bruised and beaten, and I haven't even touched her, despite her toning down her own capability in order to help build me up. This time around, that poisonous whispering in my head the last couple of days is now shouting at me, trying to convince me that all of this is a waste of both our time, that there's no way I'll ever get anywhere with this. I fight it, but my motivation and my morale flags. Always eating at me are those feelings of helplessness and powerlessness that threaten to overwhelm me at times, that threaten to erupt into frustration and anger. And now, after a particularly frustrating session, they momentarily succeed. I failed to make any real progress at all, and Alita seemed to be getting frustrated with me as well. It's now after practice. She's getting her boots on while I am sitting on the bench, leaning back against the wall. Self-directed anger and self-recriminations are beating at the inside of my skull, demanding to be let out. I tighten my jaw, holding it all in as I scowl down at the floor in front of me. You were badly distracted today, Alita says suddenly. Glancing over at her, I shrug disinterestedly. Yeah, gonna have to work on that. Alita pauses, hands on hips. After a moment, she walks over and sits down next to me. You were doing so well. What's got you so bothered? Sighing heavily through my nose, I shrug disinterestedly. There's a lot of things bothering me. Care to talk about them? A quiet sigh. It's nothing you need to worry about. A little late for that. I haven't forgotten that you've been suicidal in the not-so-distant past, so yeah, kind of worried. I feel we should be getting ready to head back to the clinic, but something in me wants to keep talking with her now that she's expressed an interest. Problem is, I'm not even sure what to talk about. I only know that there's an undercurrent of bitterness and frustration running through me, and it's starting to affect the rest of my day-to-day life. At times, I found myself drifting off into daydreams of violent anger. It's been building for a while, and I haven't had time to stop and give it much thought. Shaking my head, I tell her, look, I'm not even really sure what's bothering me right now. Just not feeling great. Just not feeling all that great. After a pensive silence, she asks, is it the nightmares again? No. I mean, I still have them, but at least they're not as bad as they used to be. Taking a deep breath, I decide to give her an easy out, figuring she's just trying to be polite. Getting late, and I'm sure you got stuff to do. She leans back against the wall, arms folded, and looks me straight in the eyes. I am doing stuff. She nods towards me as if prompting. So then, what's got you so down that today felt more like hitting a punching bag than training a student? Pursing my lips, I look out over the practice mat. There's a sense of relief that someone cares enough to want to talk, but paradoxically, there's also annoyance, as if it's none of her business. Old scars from others, making a show of compassion, but abruptly turning their back, not wanting to deal with me. A deep breath, then I slowly let it out. Closing my eyes, I try not to force it, to let the words flow. You have any idea how much I hate this place? A moment's quiet, then she gently replies. Some, I think. I had thought you were finally settling in, getting to at least accept it. I'm guessing not. A wave of anger washes over me. I open my eyes and stare down at my feet. Teeth gritted, my lips pulled back in a brief snarl that quickly disappears. Still keeping my eyes fixed on a spot on the distant wall. Honestly, for a while there, I thought I had been. But there are so many constant reminders of a quiet sigh, my mind switching avenues of thought. You know, while I was lying in that bed with my face bandaged and my jaw wired shut, I did some thinking. A little mathematics. Assuming there are around 2.5 million people crammed into Iron City, did you know it would take over 3,000 Iron Cities scattered across the globe for Earth to hold the number of men, women, and children that it did in my time? I didn't know that, she responds quietly. Staring off at a distant point, I let my memories carry me back. I remember Wasilla, Alaska, Yakima, Washington, Sacramento, California, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Kingman, Arizona, San Antonio, Texas. I recite each place like they're the names of the honored dead. All places I've actually been to. They all had families, children playing, people walking their pets or going to the store or just going about their lives. Some places it snowed in the winter. Other places it just got real cold and rained more. Breaking my gaze away from the distant past, I look at her. And that's just in my home country. All of those places were so different, so alive. And now they're just gone. Erased like they never existed. My brow furrows as I try once again to wrap my mind around it all. And for me, it's as if it happened overnight. My voice trails a bit. It's like someone flipped a switch and it all just vanished. It isn't until it's all out that I realize just how much this had all been eating away at me. Airing it doesn't really help me feel all that much better, but it seems needed. I never actually really mourned for that world I lost. The world I was born into, grew up in, lived and loved in. The world I was stolen from by something far beyond my comprehension, let alone any control. A remembered image of a photo taken from a satellite in orbit. The satellite was fairly high up and had just passed into Earth's shadow, and below it was Earth at nighttime. Patterns of light etched across the world's surface. I asked her in a quiet voice, "Do you have any memory of seeing Earth from orbit?" Only the glimpses I remember from battling on the moon," she answers, her tone matching mine. A slow nod, still staring straight ahead, remembering. "I've seen satellite pictures from orbit. Earth during the day, you could see a lot of features real clear. Rivers, oceans, mountains, deserts, all that. But nighttime was when you could really see the signs of the people. It's the lights. Well, was the lights. From all the towns and cities. They were scattered over so much of the Earth's surface in so many different places. Small scatterings in rural areas, sprawling patterns in cities and urban areas." A quiet chuckle. "Much as I hate cities, they could be beautiful from a distance at night. Some were like massive grid lines. Others were circles with lines radiating outward like luminescent spider webs." A quiet, slow sigh as I think about those lights. "Now it's all darkness. No more lights. No more people." The two of us sit silent for a moment, then Alita speaks. "I know a lot was lost, but I never realized it was so much." Her voice hardened slightly. "But what there is now shouldn't be discounted. There is still humanity holding on, still living." "Yeah," I returned wearily, feeling so very tired again. "That is true." To my ears, the words sound more like defeat than agreement, like I'm surrendering to something I shouldn't. Silence stretches. She waits patiently for me to say more. I shrug my sore shoulders. "Well, I'm sure you've got other things you need to see to." She remains where she is, quiet for a moment. "I know you're still struggling with a lot, trying to deal with everything you've lost. That can take time to come to terms with." She tips her head slightly to one side, suddenly looking thoughtful. "You know, you and I are trying to deal with a similar problem, settling into a world that's strange to us." Setting my glasses aside, I lean forward, elbows on knees, and put my head in my hands. Slowly rubbing my face as if to wipe away the weariness and lingering hurt, I tell her, "Well, one of us seems to be having a much easier time of it." "I'm not sure I'd go that far," she remarks. "I just keep going, figuring things out as I do." Her tone becomes lighter, and I'm always willing to help out a fellow newcomer to this strange new world. Us temporally displaced former soldiers gotta stick together. Sitting back up, I look over at her and can't help a brief smile, grateful for her understanding. Most days I feel completely out of my depths. I put my glasses back on with a sigh. "Well, at least you're not alone," she remarks warmly. Glancing down at the floor, I give a quick nod. "Yeah, there is that." She nods and we sit for a moment, then she playfully bumps her shoulder against mine and suggests in a lightly teasing voice, "Maybe taking you out for ice cream would help cheer you up." I grant her question serious consideration. "That's not a bad idea. I could go for some ice cream." Her brow knits. "Seriously?" she asks, still teasing. My mood lifts and I'm hit by a playful impulse. I turn to her and say in mock admonishment, "Hey, don't diss the ice cream kid. Ice cream happens to be one of the pinnacle achievements of human civilization." The look on her face conveys a clear doubt of that claim. "Yeah, I haven't had any in over a year. There really someplace around here that sells it?" Her expression brightens. "Okay, fine," she says through a smile. "We'll grab some ice cream on the way home. My treat." It's as if some incredible weight is lifted from me. More seriously, I tell her, "Thank you." "What are friends for?" she returns brightly. I flash her a grateful smile and she gives me a pat on the shoulder as we get to cleaning up the training space. I clean and store my protective pads, put away some of the training equipment, that she had me use to help build up my organic muscles, then head back over to the bench to gather my things in preparation to leave. Placing my towel in my duffel, I withdraw my jacket, pausing before putting it on. My gaze is drawn back towards that mat we train on. I find myself suddenly wondering, what am I doing here? It's one of those rare moments of, what, existential crisis? No, not really a crisis, more like simple uncertainty. A tapping on my shoulder wakes me up from my pondering as Alita asks, "Hey, you ready?" "Right," I respond, quickly putting my jacket back on, despite the sore muscles protesting. We take up our duffel bags, then she turns out the lights and locks the door behind us on our way out. As we head down the stairwell, lit only by dim fixtures and sunlight filtering through dirty, thick-paned windows, she asks me over her shoulder, "You got any plans for this evening while everyone's out? Be the first time you'll have the clinic all to yourself." Keeping my expression and voice deadpan, I casually state, "I was thinking I'd throw a huge party and invite all the local motorball fans in for a big drug-fueled orgy. You know, try to meet new people." Her only response is a deadpan, "Uh-huh." Having failed to get any real reaction from her, I answer, "Actually, I'll be in the stands with Gerhead and Kiyomi." She stops so suddenly that I nearly run into her. Turning halfway around, she looks up at me. "Really? And here I thought you'd be glad not to have to see that blood sport ever again." Keeping a light tone, I reply, "Normally, you'd be right, but I've got this friend playing, and after everything she and her family have done for me, I figure the least I could do was show a little support while she's on the track." While the rest of her face shows little change, her eyes brighten. "Well, that's very thoughtful of you. I'm sure your friend appreciates that." She continues down the stairwell, and I fall in behind her. Dealing with a rowdy crowd in which a fight can and has on occasion broken out is not my idea of a fun night. Still, I meant what I said. I may not be a fan of motorball, but I'd like to be there to cheer Alita and her team on, especially knowing what she's ultimately after and the danger she could be facing in pursuit of it. At least I won't be in the rows down next to the track. Those are the rowdiest, with fights breaking out constantly, sometimes even spilling out onto the tracks. Reaching the bottom floor, we head into the lobby and past the front desk. Without looking up from the magazine in hand, the rather portly man sitting behind it with the thin cigar casts an offhand but friendly, "See you later, Angel," towards Alita. "Bye," she says over her shoulder with a wave. As we pass the main door, she throws back a bantering, "Don't work too hard." The man lets out a single sarcastic guffaw as we blend into the rather light foot traffic on the walkway outside. I'm immediately hit by the oppressive feeling of being under that massive structure overhead, blocking out the sky. It's like a claustrophobic lid on this city. After wheeling the bike out of the stall on its single large wheel, she mounts up and impatiently pats the back passenger space in the seat, drawing my attention away from the city overhead. "Come on," she says. A broad, teasing smile spreads across her face. "I'll buy us lunch before I get you that ice cream." She doesn't have to tell me twice. The place she takes us is a little diner-looking spot. Inside are actual booths to sit at. We head in, and the wait staff direct us to sit wherever. As there are very few customers at the moment, I point out a nice little corner booth away from the front entrance. We make our way over to it. After taking a seat, our orders are quickly taken. While we wait, Alita points out some areas of my training that I could improve, offering some advice. At first, I listen attentively, but my mind is soon drawn upward to that city hanging overhead, as well as its autocratic ruler who has already tried to kill me and Gerhead, indirectly, intentionally or otherwise. "Hey," Alita pokes me in the shoulder hard. Realizing I'd zoned out in the middle of her talking, I say, "Sorry, just got to thinking." Smoothing the annoyance from her features, she asks, "Really? What's got you so deep in thought that you ignore me?" For a moment, I hesitate to answer, figuring it's not important. Just, thinking about Zalem. Her nose wrinkles. Daydreaming about living up there? Flashing her a vaguely disgusted look, I tell her, "What? Fuck no." She seems mildly surprised at that, commenting almost absently, "Oh, just about everyone down here would like to get up there. They all see it as some kind of heavenly escape from Iron City. Considering where you come from, I've always thought you'd see it as closer to what you're used to." Shrugging at her comment, I tell her, "Yeah, well, I almost mention what is for me relatively recent history, but paranoia at listening ears causes me to switch gears. With some of the things I've learned in life, I don't see it as the paradise everyone else might. Besides, my duty as a Christian is to the people down here, the people who really need the help. Here's a question for you. How the hell are you supposed to get up there? We already told you, final champion. Yes, I know that part. Looking askance at her, I keep my voice low. And this guy, Nova, knowing that you're on your way to kill him, is going to just let you waltz right to the front door. For someone who's supposed to have a monumental intellect, that sounds monumentally stupid. Well, consider this. Nova might be in control of most aspects of this world, but even he still has to abide by certain rules, like the rules that keep this place running. If he tries to deny a champion entry to Zalem when everyone in the city has such fervent dreams of getting to Zalem themselves to escape life down here, understanding hits me in a flash. Denying the people's proxy something so many dream of could have disastrous fallout. She nods agreement. My brain kicks into gear. The population is already on edge, and breaking that rule that gives the people some kind of hope could really blow up in his face, badly. He could end up with risking a widespread riot, which, if it got bad enough, could endanger the supply line from the factory to Zalem. One side of my mouth turns up in a smile as I look back at her. Huh. So it is kind of like the gladiators of old Rome. She tilts her head slightly to one side as she gives me a puzzled look. The what? Back in ancient Rome, during the empire's decline, the emperor instituted gladiatorial games. Slaves, in this case gladiators, would fight to the death to entertain the people, to distract the populace from the fact that their lives were sliding into the shitter. But some slaves attained enough popularity that they could become untouchable by the emperor, or the people would rise up in rebellion. Yeah, I guess it is kind of like that. She wrinkles her nose. Slaves, huh? If you equate motorball with slaves fighting to the death, no wonder you don't care for it. A half shrug. Yeah, well, I know they're not really the same thing. It's just me being... A faint teasing smile turns up her lips. Just you being you. Something like that. Another thought hits me. But once you get up there, there's no telling what you could have waiting for you. I mean, what if... Jason, she interrupts firmly. I've already thought about all this. Believe me. Ito, Gerhard, and I have discussed it for months and at length. I have some contingencies in mind. But even if my plans fall apart, I'll find a way. No, I don't doubt it. I cast another baleful glance upwards in the direction of that elegant, glittering monstrosity hidden from view. Was just thinking aloud. Her expression hardens with determination. Believe me, I've already done a lot of thinking about it, since I'm the one going up there. Her features soften, but I appreciate your concern. Of course I'm concerned, I shrug absently, putting on a gruffer tone. Kind of gotten used to having you around. I try to put any further worries aside. We finally get our food, eat our meal as she continues her previous discussion. Afterwards, she orders the promised ice cream. The waitress sets a small bowl of chocolate ice cream in front of each of us, and I immediately dig in after thanking the waitress. In this warm climate, after a year of its absence from my life, it's a heavenly treat, a welcome reminder of more pleasant days. Alita takes a moment to watch me, faint smile tugging at her lips before commenting. Glad to see chocolate was a good choice? I nod enthusiastically. I love chocolate. A pause for another spoonful of ice-cold, chocolatey dairy goodness. I was glad to see cocoa beans had survived that war. Cocoa beans? She asks around a mouthful of her own ice cream. Is that where chocolate comes from? Another nod as I down another bite. If that war had caused cocoa beans to go extinct, no more chocolate. Alita stops eating and looks at me, seeming mildly alarmed. That would be terrible. Certainly wouldn't call it good, I say. I take it you like chocolate yourself, huh? She nods firmly. It's my favorite food. She takes a big spoonful of ice cream and closes her eyes, seeming to enjoy the flavor with a So glad it's not extinct. A quiet laugh escapes me. I'm guessing you might like chocolate even more than I do. She merely smiles in response. We finish our treats, then she pays and we head out, leaving a happy waitress tucking away a sizable tip. With some measure of satisfaction, I make a note that Alita seems to have picked up my habit, albeit a haphazard one considering my impoverished state, of leaving tips for badly underpaid serving staff. A blindingly fast drive later, and she drops me back at the clinic where we part ways and she heads off to attend to whatever other business she has. Entering the main door, I'm a little alarmed at the amount of people that have shown up, unusual for this time of day. It leaves me feeling a bit guilty, thinking that maybe I should have gotten back sooner in order to help out instead of stopping for lunch. Passing through the waiting room, exchanging greetings with a few regulars, I put my jacket away and head into the main room. On the other side of the privacy barrier, I find Ito currently engaged in trying to rebuild some poor guy's arm that looks terribly mangled, with Gerhard standing close by assisting. The patient's arm is crumpled, chewed up, and twisted as if it got pulled into some kind of spinning blades or gears. The connections of the mangled arm are being undone so a new one can be fitted to the shoulder joint. After exchanging a quick hello with Ito and Gerhard, letting them know I've returned, I make a circuit of the clinic, checking supply cabinets, finding a couple that need restocking. Then some cleaning and maintenance, making sure I put on protective gauntlets to minimize direct physical contact with valuable items. It's the little everyday tasks that must be tended to so Ito and Gerhard can better focus on treating their patients. Life in Iron City. But I find myself wondering, is this really what the rest of my life will look like? I'm honestly not sure I'd mind that. Staying in this little clinic, helping these good people as they work to help others. That actually sounds pretty damn good to me. The end of the day arrives and everyone gets ready to head out for Alita's game. Ito goes on ahead in order to prepare for his duties as the team's tuner, leaving Gerhard and me to finish last-minute cleanup. Then she heads off to change and I grab my jacket and hat. When Gerhard returns, she's let her neatly braided hair down and is wearing a jersey with Alita 99 on it. The two of us head outside to wait on the cab that she calls for us. As we wait, I find myself in an uncharacteristically good mood, considering what I'm about to wade into. Grinning broadly and practically bouncing with an unexpected energy, spirits buoyant. Gerhard notices. Considering your dislike of motorballing crowds, I didn't expect you to be in such a good mood, she observes cheerfully. Stopping to think about that for a moment, an answer comes. I think it's because I'm not sitting in a wheelchair riding in the back of Kiyomi's van. I get to ride in a taxi. I go back to grinning and bouncing rhythmically, knees bending slightly with each movement, quietly humming the Imperial March for some unfathomable reason. She shakes her head, smiling at my inane antics. And that's a big deal because I stop bouncing and think about it for a moment before answering her. Guess it's kind of a rematch in a way. Last time I faced that stadium, I was stuck in that wheelchair, feeling like my life had basically come to an end. This time, things are a lot different. That's how I see it anyway. Considering that, she nods. Yeah, okay. Our cab arrives and we squeeze into the vehicle, a little narrower than a golf cart. Before long, we're dropped off at the main entrance to the motorball arena, with its giant-sized motorball, for which the sport is named, mounted over the brightly lit entrance. Entering into the stands is like being hit by a wave. I can feel the excited cheering of the crowds reverberating in my chest. We make our way down to the mid-row seats and find Kiyomi slipping in next to her. Glad you could make it, Kiyomi loudly greets us over the noise, smiling broadly. Now is when the anxiety decides to kick in. I push it down as best I can. Wouldn't miss it for the world, I toss back loudly over the ear-rattling screams of the crowds, already wishing that maybe I'd missed it for the world. The anxiety ratchets up when Alita and her team take to the field. The announcer calls out the names of each of the team members, the crowds cheering each one with a few boos. Then he gets to Alita. And here's the Battle Angel herself to lead her team to victory as they rocket their way up the rankings towards the championships. Alita! The crowds go absolutely wild, more so than the last time I'd been here. The roar sets my teeth on edge. I become keenly aware of the press of bodies around me wildly cheering. Sharp awareness of how many there are between me and the exit, of the fact that at any moment, the whole lot of them could explode into violence. A creeping undercurrent of uncertainty that there will be life-threatening violence attempts to take root. Trying hard to keep what I know to be an irrational fear at bay, I swallow it down and focus on the massive view screen mounted on a gantry in the middle of the track. It shows a close-up of Alita with each of her teammates. They roll onto the field, each of them looking determined and focused. Alita most of all. Standing at the forefront of her team, she pulls her sword from the clip on her left arm and points it skyward, setting it ablaze with shimmering blue plasma fire. The point of the blade is aimed squarely at Zalem, hanging a ways off over the city center, but still large and oppressive in the sky. The crowd continues going crazy, chanting her name loud enough to drown out any others, and waving all manner of banners and signs, pledging their devotion to their battle angel. To my amusement, there's even a marriage proposal from some overly optimistic soul. Many of the banners are signed the Alita Army, likely a newly formed fan club to the rising champion. The number of them is staggering, considering there hadn't been any sign of this Alita Army not too long ago. Then the opposing team arrives, the announcer calling them the Caballeros de la Santa Muerte. Calling upon what minuscule Spanish I've managed to stumble over, my brain translates that to the Knights of Saint Death. Yeah, that's not just a little pretentious. All 7 of them sporting a similar color scheme of black with silver trim. Their varied style of helmets painted up with skull-like imagery. A couple with lean and quick builds, a couple with heavier, almost tank-like bodies, and the remainder with more moderate designs. Their leader is the only one I find myself paying attention to, a player introduced as El Cohete. The crowd boos and jeers at this team uproariously. Seems the Caballeros have few fans. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice Gerhard lean over to Kiyomi, and the two of them trade comments that are lost in the furor of the arena. After a bit more hyping by the announcer, the two teams take their place at the starting line. The array of lights on the side of the start line count down from red to yellow to green. The second the green lights up, the launcher set off the side of the track fires a motor ball onto the lane where it immediately begins jittering and bouncing as its many motorized protrusions hit the track and alter its velocity. As if fired like jet fighters catapulted off the deck of a carrier, the teams rocket after it, weapons immediately seeking out nearby targets. Hammers and chains and swords all clashing and throwing up sparks with each bone-shattering impact either against an opponent, a blocking weapon, or the track surface. I spot Roman's rocket hammer arc over and down, immediately severing an opponent's arm. The severed arm tumbles along the track, then comes to a skidding halt nearly a few dozen meters from where its owner lost it. It's as if that severed arm triggers something within my brain. Aspects of the world begin leaping into jarring focus. Then everything starts moving perceptibly, spinning ever so slowly as it tips to one side. Breathing becomes labored. Skin goes cold like a layer of ice and sweat covering every inch of me. My breathing slows as I begin measuring my breaths, fighting to keep control over my mind and body. It's a fight I lose. My vision grays out as my nerves dredge up the remembered sensation of flesh and cartilage being ripped apart. Mind is filled with images of blood pooling around me on the street and on the floor of the clinic basement, memories of animal screams of agony and terror. Sickening nausea blends with a watery feeling in my muscles as they slowly stop obeying me, though their mutiny falls short of paralysis. It comes on so quickly that the strength to even stand is gone before I know it. My efforts to fight it off with meditation or anything at all are quickly overwhelmed. Sinking into my seat, I lean forward and put my head between my knees, tipping my hat back so it sits in the back of my head. A last-ditch attempt to keep it from falling forward onto the questionable floor. An indeterminate time later, I'm still lost in a gray fog and nightmare motion, and the nauseous sensation that my guts are going to be coming up at any second. Something impacts the back of my head right on the center of my hat. Fluid splashes off the back of my head and onto the surrounding seats. The smell of cheap beer assaults my senses. Indignant protests and yelling erupt in the seats around me. Gerhard, who until now had been focused on the game, notices my condition and reaches down to gently lift me partway upright in my seat. "Jason? Hey!" Her voice is distant and difficult to hear over the roar of the crowd and the blood pounding in my ears. Before I can answer, the feel of her hands on me disappears and I hear her yell, "What the hell's wrong with you?" Kiyomi's angry voice adds to the nurses as the two of them yell at someone behind us. A deep voice from the seat behind me drunkenly bellows out, "What you gonna do about it, bitch?" The sound of Gerhard's voice saying something I can't make out over the noise. Then that drunken voice yelling back something incoherent but with a nasty tone. Someone tries to come over the back of my seat, either at me or her. Gerhard shoots to her feet, and there's the impression of a brief back and forth of violent motion, quickly followed by a loud, meaty metallic thunk and a simultaneous ugh. There's no further sound from whoever the drunkard was. Gerhard sits back down and tries again. Jason, I think we need to get you out of here. Hey, you okay? Kiyomi overrides her. Not having the strength to move anyway, I manage to get out between labored breaths. It's fine. Just need a minute. It'll pass. In spite of the tumult of sickening dread I'm swimming in, I don't want my condition to ruin their night. I'm only peripherally aware of Gerhard gently laying her right hand over my nerveless left hand, as I ride out the storm, fighting to breathe. It eventually burns itself out and the gray fog lifts, my muscles no longer weak and watery. In this environment, there's no sense of relief like there would normally be. It's washed away by the constant pressure of the screaming crowds and the press of on-the-edge people surrounding me. Managing to straighten up, I put on a weak smile. There, it's fine. I'm good now. Glancing down at my feet, my gaze finds the plastic cup that was thrown at me. Cheap beer is soaking into the small of my back, and Gerhard looks to have taken splash damage as well. A glance behind me shows a rather flabby-looking, heavy-set man holding a blood-spotted rag to his face. No doubt a souvenir courtesy of Gerhard's cybernetic arm. He keeps his sullen glare firmly on the distant track. I shoot a surprised look at Gerhard and a glance at her cyber arm. I've never seen the usually patient and kind nurse get violent with someone. Well, outside of that night in the basement. Gerhard returns the look with a subdued shrug and expression of, he started it. We return our attention to the game playing out below. Alita and her team continue to battle their way around the track. The score is tied. Watching the opposing team move as they race around the track, they display a level of coordination that I hadn't seen with other teams. They put up a hell of a fight. Devastating blows get traded right along with the ball, and by the end of the first contest, half of both teams are out with too much damage to fix with what's readily on hand. The 20-minute intermission is called. Alita's team just has herself, Roman, and Saza, along with the 3 reserves. Cameras catch a scene of the brothers arguing at length with Ito, no doubt trying to finagle some way to get back on the track so they can continue fighting alongside their Battle Angel. But the parts just aren't there. Too much was lost to the opposition, and now they're down to nearly nothing for spares. The Caballeros aren't faring much better, having 4 members left in fighting condition and all 3 of their reserves called in as well. Gerhard and Kiyomi call over a vendor moving through the crowds and buy some snacks. I turn down an offer from Gerhard to buy me something, not having much appetite. Then the intermission ends and the teams take to the track again. The fighting is swift and brutal, much of the action moving at a speed that I can't keep track of. Halfway through the second lap, the 2 teams lay into each other in the kind of high-speed, high-energy melee that only transhumanly augmented combatants can manage, ripping each other apart and leaving parts scattered across a whole section of track. Before I know it, it's just Alita and 2 of the opposition, one of them being a reservist. Of Alita's team, Roman, Saza, and their 3 reservists were all heavily damaged in the short, savage exchange. The crowds are absolutely loving it. Everyone around me is on their feet, jumping up and down, hands in the air, waving signs, banners, whatever, to show their support for their favorites. Except me. I just stand there watching intently as it all unfolds. There's a distance between me and the chaos around me, like I'm watching it all on TV, despite the fact that I'm standing right there with everyone. I take my eyes off the action long enough to watch as Roman and Saza, or rather what's left of them, are quickly hauled off the track by recovery teams, hoping they're all right. They should be, as their cyber cores are generally well protected. That aside, it looks like they were hit by a runaway train. The opposing team survivors don't look much better. Worse, in fact. Alita, now alone against the opposition, pursues them. She closes in on the reservist holding the ball. That player, seeing what's coming at him, passes the ball to his teammate and throws himself at Alita. If he was hoping to slow her down, he fails miserably. Her face a cold mask, Alita draws her Damascus blade from its left forearm mount and becomes a whirlwind of spinning blades and blazing blue plasma, leaving the oncoming opponent in pieces that bounce and tumble to a stop on the track behind her. At this point, the rules of the game change a bit. When there's only 2 active players in the track, the win can now go to the last player standing, in addition to regular victory conditions. El Cohete is the only member of the opposition, wielding a large mace to go with his thick, curved shield. Cohete casually tosses the ball aside and re-equips his weapon as Alita bears down on him. Upon reaching her target, she lets off a flurry of blows that carve little shards out of his shield. Koete's extraordinary skill with his shield is apparent as he managed to angle that shield in a way that prevents Alita from ever landing a solid hit with that Ultra-Tech blade. He makes a couple of abortive attempts to retaliate, but is unable to find an opening against the speed of Alita's attacks. Shouldn't her plasma be doing something to this guy? Kaomi asks in frustration. I'd been wondering that myself. This whole game, the few times Alita directed a plasma sheath attack at this guy, the damage had been minimal. On impulse, I stop watching the action itself and focus on just the close-ups, highlights of previous violence, including the slow-motion replays in some of the smaller screens. Each slice at her target is intercepted and redirected by the way he angles and moves that shield, mitigating much of the damage. But more than that, with each hit, the plasma fans out across the surface of the shield. From all appearances, never doing more than brushing the surface, leaving minor scorching. I've seen that kind of thing before, in videos from universities. Plasma interacting with an invisible force. Leaning over to Gerhard, I point at the smaller screen I'd been studying that wasn't the object of her focus. I think that guy's using some kind of magnetic field. It's repelling her plasma, keeping it from having full effect. Can't believe I didn't see that, she replies loudly enough to be heard over the roar of the crowd. I don't bother commenting aloud, well, you were pretty focused on the action like any normal person. If it wasn't for my distaste for the sport, I'd have likely had my eyes glued to the action as well, same as everyone. Alita, on the other hand, looks to be well aware of what's going on with her plasma. Small sections of her right forearm are starting to visibly glow orange, signs of overheating power cables. Gerhard confirms what I'm suspecting. She's increasing power to her plasma emitters. That reactor of hers can put out so much power, her track body can't take much of that. Too much and it can burn those emitters out and who knows what else right along with it. Which I gather to mean possible life support damage or something nearly as serious. Lips pressed into a grim line, brows drawn down in that predatory bird look, Alita doesn't slow her assault. She whirls around her enemy, raining blow after blow from sword, fist, and feet, managing to take pieces out of him, knocking him about, but never entirely off balance. Koete keeps his composure, maneuvering down the track, and keeps that shield between himself and his attacker, making occasional attempts to strike back, but it's becoming clear that he's not nearly as good at offense as he is at defense. Then Koete spots an opening. Lashing out with swift, brutal force, the mace smashes into Alita's chest, caving in her left breast and badly damaging her left shoulder. Alita staggers and falls, but rolls back to her feet and keeps after him, though her left arm is moving sluggishly. Koete has gained distance, and now she races to close the distance. The announcer, who's been babbling the usual excited commentary almost non-stop, cries out in what might be agonized ecstasy. El Koete has fended off everything Alita's thrown at him. He may not be nearly as good at offense as the Angel, but he's a veritable fortress. How will the Battle Angel overcome her opponent's seemingly impenetrable defenses? As if goaded by the announcer's commentary, Alita's face contorts, lips peeling back to bare her teeth, eyes widening with a frightening intensity. Her right arm visibly glows orange in a couple more spots as more power is poured into her plasma emitter feeding the sword. The blade and the hand holding it is enveloped in a blazing blue inferno, much more intense than the flickering blue plasma fire I'd seen before. Alita coils herself up and leaps at the Caballero, blade first. Koete is ready and turns to deftly interpose that shield again. Just before hitting, she folds herself up and impacts wheel feet first, both feet spaced apart to allow for a strike with her blade between them. Unable to follow the blurred flurry of action, I'm only able to make out that her Damascus blade, stabbing down in a reverse grip, stores a direct hit, that Martian-forged blade biting into the shield's surface, the plasma field fanning outward across its surface as it deforms against that magnetic field. The bolstered intensity of the ravening plasma overcomes the magnetic field, flows down the blade, and vaporizes the shield on contact, devouring the metal as it pours into it. The plasma-charged weapon tears through and destroys the Caballero's arm. Coming apart at the elbow, the shield arm and what remains of the shield separate from Koete's body. Alita pushes off from the wreckage, briefly touches the track butt first, only to immediately curl up into an inhumanly fast roll that lands her solidly on her wheel feet again. Losing little momentum, she comes at her opponent with a leg sweep that knocks his feet out from under him, sending the man face forward. Before he even hits the ground, she flips forward to bring down a high-speed axe kick that puts her wheel foot deep into his lower back, smashing him into the track and, from appearances, severing his spine at the point of impact. El Cohete doesn't move much after that, skidding to a slow stop in the middle of the track as Alita races for the finish line to claim the win, last warrior standing. As she goes, the glowing areas of her right arm begin to visibly cool, though smoke is billowing out of her forearm, and her hand seems to be frozen in place, holding the Damascus blade in a reverse grip. Lucas rushes from the pit to meet her at the finish line with a fire extinguisher, while the announcer practically screams in what I can only describe as frenzied elation. She did it! She did it, Motorball fans! The unstoppable Battle Angel has absolutely wrecked the fortress-like defenses of El Cohete and brought him down! Slow motion replays of the last bit of action are thrown up on the overhead view screens. Can you believe it? That double foot strike forced Cohete's shield in a position that gave her an opening to focus her energy into a face-on strike against that armor, allowing her to pierce straight through his defenses. The Battle Angel proving once again that nothing will stand between her and victory, not even the limitations of her own chassis. More calmly, he comments, "Boy, is her pit crew going to have their work cut out for them." The crowd erupts louder than ever, Gerhead and Kiyomi right along with them. Though I don't join them, still feeling too disconnected, I am happy for Alita. She and her team claimed another victory on her journey towards the championships and Zalem. By the time we're able to get through the still energized and rowdy crowds down to the locker room, the track is halfway cleared for the next game of the night, some free-for-all match that I have absolutely zero interest in. And the team is already probably switched over to their street bodies. Security had been tightened up for some reason, and swarms of arena personnel are all over the pit area. Constant streams of factory track crew were in and out of the entries to the lower levels under the track. In the hour or so we were forced to wait to get into the locker room area, rumors began percolating through the crowd that the opposing team had been caught cheating somehow. When we're finally able to get past security, we begin making our way down the large hallway, passing arena personnel going about their business. As we approach the doors to the locker room, a dark-skinned woman wearing a rather high-end formal jacket and skirt exits those doors, followed by a large man in a casually elegant suit with some obvious cyberware, looking for all the world like personal security. A thin woman in a severe cut suit follows the pair, carrying a tablet tucked under one arm. As they pass us, Gerhead greets the first woman. "Miss Masumi, is something wrong?" Miss Masumi's expression goes from imperious scowl to pleasantly neutral when she comes to a stop, as does our little group. "Hello, Gerhead. I think there is something wrong, but the League office isn't listening to my complaints. As I am on my way to deal with them more directly, I can't really stay to chat. Malcolm and Ito should be able to fill you in if you're interested." She nods curtly to us. "Have a good evening." Without waiting for a goodbye, Miss Masumi turns and leaves, leading her guard and assistant, I'm assuming that's what they are, away. After watching the trio retreat a ways down the passage, I turn to Gerhead. "Who's that?" The nurse nods in the trio's direction. "That's Asano Masumi. She doesn't really come around much, but she heads up diesel engineering. The company's been in her family for generations, and they're sponsoring Alita's team. Been rumors they got financial trouble, though," Kiyomi remarks, "so not sure they'll still be in a position to continue sponsoring the team when they finally make the championships. If there does end up being trouble on that end, Ito's been considering approaching DE's competitor, Esdoc Motors." "Come on," Gerhead says, gesturing us onward. Inside the locker room, most of the players have already left, and everyone remaining is now in their street bodies. Takata is finishing packing up a duffel as we walk in. He gives the 4 remaining players, Roberto, Bannock, Saza, and Roman, a stiff farewell before brushing past us and out the door, pretty much ignoring us. The brothers' faces brighten upon seeing Gerhead, giving her and Kiyomi cheerful greetings, but their expressions sour when they lay eyes on me. They pointedly refrain from sending a greeting my way. I give them a casually friendly wave hello regardless. Roman and Saza are more pleased to see all 3 of us. The 2 players exchange greetings with us, though Saza is a little more friendly with me. "Hey there, Jason," she says, making no attempt to hide the slyly pleased smile she flashes me. She gently adjusts the collar of my field jacket. Looking good. Glad to see you could make it. Feeling a little like an awkward teenager again, my brain nearly blanks out completely. But I barely managed to find a response. Thanks. Unable to take my eyes off her, I offer, it's good to see you're all right after those hits you guys took. A dismissive shrug of her shoulders, though her smile is far from dismissive. I've taken much worse, but it's sweet of you to be concerned. Just as I'm struggling under her captivating gaze for something more to say, Roman comes to the rescue by clearing his throat. When he has our attention, sorry to interrupt, he places a hand on Saza's shoulder, but we gotta head out. Malcolm's taking our track bodies over to his workshop. Saza nods. Seeing as the entire team got wrecked, it's a lot to be moved. We wanted to help the crew get them dealt with, considering how much work they've got ahead of us. Or considering how much work they've got ahead. Right, don't want to hold you up then. I move out of their way and straighten up my expression when I find myself grinning like an idiot. Take care. Saza heads out, flashing a final parting smile to me as she goes. Roman follows her, glancing back at me with an amused and knowing grin. Leaving me standing there staring after them, wondering what the hell I am even thinking, contemplating what I'm thinking, with a beautiful cyborg woman. I'm pulled out of my musings by Kiyomi and Gerhard clearing their throats simultaneously. Looking over, I see the two of them staring at me. Gerhard with a patient expression and the faintest of smiles, or Kiyomi is wearing an expression of, what is wrong with you? As if she expects me to go after Saza. Gerhard gives a slight gesture of her head for me to follow, while Kiyomi looks in the direction of Roman and Saza's exit. Before I can move, Kiyomi shoots me a comically incredulous look and jerks a thumb in the direction Saza left in. You turned her down? She then shakes her head at me in exaggerated disapproval. Rolling my eyes, I sigh heavily at her well-intentioned ribbing. Yeah, I've got my reasons. Are you sure they're good ones? Kiyomi fires back. The three of us head towards the half of the locker room containing the stalls used to switch out cyber cores and store the unused bodies. As we do, Malcolm pops his head around the corner of the stall currently open. Upon seeing us, he turns to someone still hidden from view. Gerhard's here. Ito's voice reaches us from inside the stall. Ah, excellent. You and the brothers head over to the shop. I'll finish up here. Right. Come on, you two, Malcolm says loudly to the brothers. Let's get to the loading bay and get your bodies packed up. He then exchanges a terse greeting with us as he passes by to join the brothers as they all head off. On the way out, the brothers shoot me looks that are both envious and venomous. Seems those two still think I'm somehow trespassing when I'm hanging around their Battle Angel. Unsure if I should follow Gerhard and Kiyomi, seeing as I have no skills with which to help, I stop at the head of the double row of large stalls lining the wide space in order to keep out of everyone's way. As the two women approach the open stall, Gerhard asks, Did you need me to help with anything? No, Ito replies from inside the stall. Just glad you made it. Gerhard nods. Between security and the crowds, it was a bit of a mess. Kiyomi peeks around the corner into the stall. From what we could tell, that team leader was using some kind of magnetic field to mess with your plasma. Seems like, Alita says from out of my view. Ito thinks it was some kind of EM field generator built in that shield he was using. It was strong enough that it affected my blade too, making it difficult to get a solid hit in. And whatever that shield was made of was tougher than anything I've seen before. Up close, it looked like it was some kind of crystalline composite, and the way he used it, he had obviously trained extensively with it. Sounding a bit winded and a little hurried, Ito explains. That's why Miss Masumi was here, talking with all of us. She's convinced that those caballeros somehow cheated using materials and technology restricted by the League office. Malcolm and I are inclined to agree. The EM field, while far more advanced than what you expect a second League team to be able to afford, isn't against any rules, but that shield certainly didn't seem regulation. League officials aren't really listening, however. His voice goes a little lower. From the looks of it, I'd say the Caballeros were also equipped with some kind of limited hive mind network, which would explain why they possess such a high degree of coordination. That's also not something normally allowed. 3 guesses as to who is likely behind this. Nova, Kiyomi comments, her voice low and intense. Bet he amped up the other guys to take you out. I doubt it, Alita returns. They weren't quite that powerful, and Nova knows about me from the old war, so I'm sure he knew they weren't going to be enough to take me down. Her voice changes, like she's talking through clenched teeth. No, this is just him messing with me, amusing himself with another one of his sick games. A grunt of assent from Ito. Whatever the case, we're left with bare-bones stocks. All that remains are the most basic of backups. And there are still 2 more games right on the heels of this one, Gerhard remarks, sounding grimly concerned, with no idea what the other teams got in their stores. There's several minutes of silence with just the muted sounds of tools in use. And the quiet is broken when Alita asks, "Wasn't Jason with you?" "He's back here," Kiyomi says before I'm able to say anything, jerking a thumb and sending a glance in my direction. She adds, "He figured out that magnetic shield thing too, just from watching the screens." "He did?" Alita and Ito both remark with some surprise. "Yes, I did," I call back to them, feigning indignity at an unintended slight against my intelligence. I then explain with some sarcasm. "Back in the dark age of technology, I happened to catch a few videos from a university I was studying plasma technology and its applications. Gave me an idea of what I was seeing." I'm gratified to hear that my attempt at humor has its intended effect, as a couple of the others let out a few quiet chuckles. The tense mood lifts just a little. "Well, I'd better head off," Kiyomi says. "Got a feeling you're going to need me to get an early start hunting down replacements for you." She turns to Gerhard, still standing next to her. "Want a ride?" Gerhard accepts gratefully, and Kiyomi turns to me. "How about you?" Knowing they'd have to go a bit out of their way to drop me off, I tell her, "That's okay, I can wait." Gerhard and Kiyomi congratulate Alita on her win, bid us goodbye, and head out, leaving me to stand quietly and wait for Ito and Alita. After a time, Ito calls out unexpectedly, "Jason?" "Yes," I return. "Could you come here and keep an eye on Alita while I head off for a moment?" At first, uncertain as to why I would need to keep an eye on her, I call back while making my way down to the stall. Sure." It briefly occurs to me that Ito could just close the hatch if he's worried about keeping her safe in a vulnerable state, but almost immediately discard the notion, as that would basically leave Alita sitting alone. Locking one's daughter inside a metal box for however long when there are other options does seem a bit thoughtless. Ito comes out to meet me, holding up a rather scorched component about the size of the end of my pinky finger with wires coming off both ends. He explains, "I need a replacement for this coupler. The pit crew, in their haste, packed up what I had set aside without me realizing it, so I need to head to the team's storage locker and see if there's a spare. Otherwise, I'm going to need to call Malcolm away from his own work to bring one over." He gestures towards the stall. "Just to keep her company," and he trails off, obviously a bit frustrated with his task. "I'll be right back." After he hurries off, I stand there a moment, feeling a little out of place. Figuring there's no reason to just stand there like an idiot, I ask Alita, "I'm guessing that wasn't a critical component?" From within the stall, she replies, "No, but it is necessary for my core to reconnect to any of my bodies. My onboard processors were able to compensate for its loss, but that's not something you want to rely on long term. Ito's got some ideas to upgrade my track body system, so that kind of damage is less likely to happen in the future." Leaning back against the narrow wall of the stall, I consider that for a moment. "Will that allow you to use your plasma more often?" "It's more to keep another overcharge from causing damage beyond the plasma system itself," she replies. Annoyance colors her voice, and she asks, "So, are you going to stand out there all night?" Her question catches me at a loss for words. Unsure how else to respond, I attempt to explain. "Well, I figure your core is exposed, isn't it?" "It is." Her tone becomes cautious. "And?" "Didn't think you'd want anyone seeing you like that." Patiently, she explains, "I do it 12 times a month, not counting practice. It's not something I want an audience for, but as I am stuck here, I didn't think it was a reason I couldn't talk to my friend face to face." Silence stretches. I find myself struggling for something to say. Her voice hardens slightly, becoming challenging. "Unless it's too unsettling for your old-fashioned sensibilities." I feel a prickling of annoyance at that. "Can't handle it," taunts that inner voice. Still afraid of her? But I am keenly aware of a hesitation to step inside that stall, and a disheartening realization that I do fear what I might see. Imagining her in there, I'm afraid to even look at her, is enough to spark a resolve. Letting out a soft sigh, I straighten my hat, grip the lapels of my jacket, and adjust it with a light tug. Then I step into the stall entrance. Not entirely sure what I was expecting, but what I see is somehow both mundane looking and outlandishly bizarre. To a mind unaccustomed to such sights. A young woman, stripped down to about half her torso, from shoulders to a little below her ribcage, hangs from 2 chains connecting to a maintenance stand. Wires and lines run from various machines on either side of her to connect to various exposed fittings along her core. Despite the state she's in, Alita herself seems completely at ease, almost bored, in fact. The lower torso and legs of her track body sit just below her in an industrial-looking metal chair secured with vices specially designed for the purpose. Her detached arms, the right one completely exposed to reveal scorched innards, and missing its hand, are held by robotic armatures to either side out of the way. Unbidden, the thought hits me. A head and half a torso hanging from chains. Throw some barbed hooks on those chains and soak the area in blood, and you'd have a scene straight out of a Hellraiser movie. It's a thought I keep firmly behind my teeth. Alita is staring at the floor, her expression mildly annoyed, mixed with a bit of hurt. It takes a second for her to notice me. Putting on an overstated casual demeanor, hands in pockets, I step into the stall proper. Congratulations on your win, by the way. You were impressive, as usual. That gets a faint smile out of her. Did you manage to enjoy yourself out there? An offhanded shrug. I did, actually. Well, aside from the panic attack when someone lost an arm and getting cheap beer thrown on me. I absently rub at my left bicep after mentioning the lost arm. She gives a little sympathetic wince. Oh, sorry to hear that. Hearing her say that to me over a panic attack, considering what she just went through, brings a faint crooked smile to my face. I lift a shoulder in a dismissive shrug. I've had worse. Despite my attempts to hide it, she picks up on my uneasiness. Is this really that bad to you? She asks, glancing down at her current state. There's a short, awkward silence as my brain fumbles through possible responses to that before settling on one. Letting out a sigh, I force myself to look her in the eyes, stripped down as she is in a way I've never seen a flesh and blood human body. With deliberation, I tell her, it was really bad when I hid in the jungle, freaked out over a city hanging from a space elevator, afraid that I was losing my mind. It was horrifying to learn that nearly all of humanity had been wiped out. It was more than a little terrifying to find myself helpless and at the mercy of people I was certain had no interest in my well-being. But I adjusted. Letting my vision fall to the floor, I let slip another sigh at all the memories that come flooding back. Lifting my gaze, I meet hers. This past year has been a long, strange road, and I'm still encountering things that can seem a little overwhelming. It might be a while before I stop needing to get used to it all. A brief gesture towards her in the maintenance stand she's suspended in. So, yeah, this is a bit outside of my accustomed worldview. I offer her a shrug and a faint smile. I'll adjust. She gives me a searching look, then closes her eyes. After a brief moment, she opens them and says, as if reciting something, sense memory stays in the core and moves with it from body to body. Thus, there is no need to relearn motions from one incarnation to the next. Consciousness is, in fact, always embodied in the cybercore and easily adapts to inhabit any corporeal vessel. Curious if it is recited, I ask. Is that from a text of some sort? A little shake of her head. A little shake of her head. It's a part of a fragment of memory that came to me the first time I set foot on that shipwreck. This core is me, no matter what body I'm in. The girl you first met, who you were so afraid of, the girl you joked with and have been training with, it's still me. Something in the look she gives me makes me think she didn't say that just to put me at ease. Staring thoughtfully at the floor, I turn that over in my mind. So that would be the same for me if I followed Ido's advice and became a full cyborg, I raise my eyes to meet her gaze. Of course, she says. Staring down at the floor, I tell her, I know it'll still be me. Sighing softly, I shake my head. Maybe I don't know that I'll still be me. Looking over at her, I state, you're still convinced I should go through with it. Her brow furrows faintly, her insistent tone underlining the intensity burning in her eyes. Would it be such a bad thing? Your health problems aside, to be stronger, tougher, more able to withstand what's out there, you aren't going to lose who you are by doing so. I lean back against a narrow workbench. I don't doubt that you are right. When I pause to gather my thoughts, she gently presses. But, cradling my left hand in my right, I run my fleshed thumb over the padded palm of my left hand, feeling the sensations from artificial nerves. But so much of me is tied up, so much of who I am is tied up in this body I was born into. Slow shake of my head. Not ready to give that up. Not yet. Her features shift to a sympathetic expression. Too much change too quickly? I nod, my lips pressing into a thin line. I'd like to slow things down a bit. A humorless chuckle escapes me. If I can. Quick ending note. He would not, in fact, be able to slow it down at all. End of chapter.
I really like how you described the action on the track. That was excellent.
Oh, glad you liked it. That's one of the things I often worry about. Is like, am I describing it clearly and concisely enough to follow what's happening?
Yeah.
Oh, I get that feeling. I've had to write multiple chapters of Motorball, and yeah, I get the same feeling.
Cocao. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't coca sort of like a refined version of cacao, or is that something else? So I always keep hearing it called coca beans, things like that.
Yeah, there are coca beans, but they're not actually used to make chocolate.
Yeah.
In fact, the coca beans aren't used to make anything. It's the coca leaves that are chewed by the Incans as a type of medicine, like a numbing agent.
Yeah, that I heard about. Yeah,
but yeah, those leaves can also be chemically processed into cocaine. So,
well, according to a quick search, it says they refer to different stages of processing. Cacao is the raw, unroasted bean, I guess. At least according to this, that's, AI for whatever that's worth.
An interesting fact is that Coca-Cola actually in the late 19th and very early 20th century was actually had cocaine in it.
I've heard about that, yeah.
Boy, I bet that sold like gangbusters.
Oh yeah, they became real popular.
addictive substances.
Mm-hmm. Best way to make sales: get your customers addicted.
Yeah.
Gotta say though, Lee, like in the latter part of the 20s, because I've read ahead of where you've been reading up to at the moment, you kind of relaxed into your writing, and you're having it kind of feels like you're having more fun with it. You're exploring the use of words rather than being overly concerned. Like you've got you've got the number of the content, and now you can play with the language. And some of the statements you made, like the interplay of mechanisms, I really love that one.
Yeah, that was good.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm trying to be a bit more relaxed with it, let things kind of flow a bit more, not be so concerned with being with the formula of it, and just sort of just write the story.
I think that you sort of started out really wanting to put his depression and sort of mental issues front and center, and now it feels more like you're telling a story with those components as part of the story, rather than the story in the background and the sort of mental issues at the fore.
Yeah, I leaned too heavily on trying to make a story about his mental health issues, and I think I focused maybe a little bit too much on them as such. But there you have it.
I think what you're writing is also improved on, Lee, for me, is that it seems like, as I've read through the chapters, you seem to have your ability to evoke really strong mental images in me seems to have really improved a lot. I mean, that's the way I see it too,
I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear it. Just hoping that I have improved somewhat. So, and hoping it's still, or apparently, from what I'm hearing at least, it's still a entertaining story. So I'm just glad of that.
Yeah.
Well, it's more an entertaining story than an expose about people dealing with mental issues. It's now a story about somebody trying to live life in a new world. So he's basically been isekai'd,
Yeah.
and he's also dealing with mental issues, which is part of his character rather than the focus of the story. If you get what I'm meaning.
I think so. Yeah, it's trying to make a story about someone dealing with mental issues in a rather brutal world, and ended up, I think, leaning a little too heavily one direction when I didn't really need to.
Exactly. It's kind of like when you've got a good story and somebody's making a movie out of it, and then they try and push agendas.
Yeah.
And the agenda is laid over the top of the story and dilutes the story.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens a lot in Hollywood, sadly.
Yeah, instead of trying to tell a story that happens to have some of that in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's all about the packaging and what's on the top layer. I always say that the story's got to be on the top layer.
You were saying, Craig?
Yeah, I like how Alita and Jason's friendship has evolved. That's kind of a neat.
That's one of the things I was trying to work on there, get them to be a little more friends.
Well, I think too, she's completely comfortable with him seeing her in the state she's in that maintenance rack. She,
come to trust him.
Yeah.
And she was never very modest about that sort of thing in the first place, from what I've gathered.
Yeah.
But she trusts him being there in the state that she's vulnerable in.
Yeah.
# character development.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, all in service to the story. Got to tell a good story before you put the other stuff in there.
Let's see. They tried to do that with Lord of the Rings when it first reacted against it. Politics ruins a good story. Yes, it does.
Yep.
Especially when you have a story that its when somebody puts together a story that its primary objective is to deliver some kind of message about society or something like that, and they do that to the detriment of the story, that's when it really gets bad, I think.
Yeah.
Did you guys realize that Star Trek is actually a mirror to the current political leanings of the time that the Star Trek series are made?
I mention that because that was one of the things that often get commented on by people, is that they often make really good episodes where they tell a very entertaining story, but they end up putting these commentaries on society and whatnot in the time that the story was written.
Yeah, they seem to have, for me, particularly the original series, had a really good moral to each story. I mean, it was very much linked to society at the time, having me being there at that time. Of course, it was pretty interesting. So
do you guys remember Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, where the Klingon Empire has that big disaster, and they basically can't afford to stay at war with the Federation, so they have to sort of sue for peace?
Yeah.
That was around the time of the fall of the Berlin Wall and the ending of
towards the end of the Soviet Union.
Yeah,
exactly. And that was the reflection of that. Basically, in Star Trek, the Russians were the Klingons, and the movie mirrored the current political changes.
Yep.
But
they told a good story first.
Yep, that's exactly right.
But yeah, there you have it. Chapter 25.
Well, that was great. Yeah, that was great.
You're really getting into your stride by 25, Lee.
Yeah, you are.
and it's not an unusual progression that a writer things are very jangly at the start, because you haven't got the characters firmly entrenched in your head about how they would react to things. everything's a bit tentative. You're not sure if you're writing the right story, and you know the beats. You're not sure of the beats. You're not sure of the agenda that you're pushing is too much, or and I think that, as you said, you stopped having an agenda and started telling a story that has an agenda threaded through it.
Yeah.
And I really feel like you've hit your stride here. And you know, I'm dying for chapter 31 because I never let up about it.
Yeah, AKA brings up a good point. It also relates to your fanfic, Maxie, where the Alita army is there.
Oh yes.
Well, part of that
yes.
was part of that was Maxie's fanfic. Part of that was you, Creek, because you also pressed me a bit on that. You wanted to see it, and I'd already kind of halfway considered that I might. Oh, thank you. That I might go ahead and do that, and I decided to go ahead and just go for it after you mentioned it.
Now you see one thing that probably your story doesn't mention, but see, in that time period there, you know, 23, 50, 25, 63, I'm the head of the Alita army. So, you know, that's.
Yeah, I'm nothing but a dusty old picture on the wall by that stage. The creek's still there.
Yeah. Yes, all 600 and something years old, you know, that Jason and Alita doesn't even know I'm up there.
Well, he could always write you in an AU ending where they meet up with you.
Oh my God. Oh boy.
Yeah, the confidence thing. I'm actually still struggling with that one. I'm with like the current chapter I'm on, where it's from Alita's point of view. I've already done a chapter from Alita's point of view,
Yeah.
and I'm still finding myself uncertain about putting her down on page properly.
Well, I've noticed one thing. I've noticed one thing, Lee, that you seem more confident reading your story now than you did the first couple of chapters when we first started this. To me, you do anyway.
I've been getting a bit more into the groove, as it were.
Yeah.
You may feel it's a sort of a catch-22 in that the more you get into the story, the more you care about it, because you put so much time and effort into crafting it that you don't want to bugger it up.
Yeah,
so you
I
start
keep looking at these.
Yourself.
Yeah, I start looking at these other stories like Game
and then
of
you
Thrones,
finally
how
hear
it fell apart.
you read it, and I go, God, this is good, and you're like, really?
Oh, was it really that good? I was going to go back and alter this one thing here. It's like, no, that would detract.
That's because your expectations of yourself have risen.
You know something, this is something I might bring up to Rosa when we see her in London, is if there could be some kind of shout out to the Alita army in the Motorball arc, you know, that would be kind of, you know, it could be something as simple as a group of fans up there with a big banner that says Alita army or something. It'd be that simple, you know, that'd be neat.
Yeah, that would.
Well, if you remember the Return of the King, the last of the main series of Lord of the Rings movies, if you hung around for the like 10-minute long credits, they actually credit the entirety of the J.R.R. Tolkien fan club. All the names.
Wow.
Everyone who was registered at the club at the time of filming.
Dark Star Shadow. Go ahead.
Passed away.
Go ahead, Maxie. I'm sorry. I
was just saying, and a few that had passed away as well. And I would really seriously appreciate it if you know, the Alita army, at least those that, you know, stuck around and have been, you know, waving the flag, got a mention in the credits. That would be nice, but can't see it happening. But I would love it.
Well, they could do that, or they could just have that one brief shot, you know, of Alita skating, you know, out maybe to the track or something, and you see a section that has a big banner that says the Alita Army or something.
Or maybe like a collection of banners, like the Alita Army supports our Battle Angel or something along those lines.
Yeah, kind of like the Pittsburgh Steelers have the terrible towels, and Denver Broncos have the Orange Crush and all that stuff.
But yeah, I agree with Darkstar. You definitely should write a story you enjoy.
Yes.
And with any luck, it'll be something that resonates with other people, and they also enjoy it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, AKA, it was a long list of names. It was like 4 columns, and it went for like 3 minutes.
Yep.
And they were going past reasonably quickly.
Yep.
But they were all there. You once you got the home version, you could pause it and see your name if you remember at the time. And I never more regretted not actually joining the fan club.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a lot easier today, but back then, you know, you'd have to write into them to become a member, and then they'd post you out the monthly fan club newsletter and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, it was old school.
Yeah.
So the next chapter will be the interlude with Nova again.
Ugh. If I remember rightly, there was some seriously creepy moments in that one.
Yes.
I mean, you mean the interlude with the guy that's a bit of a dick.
Yeah, the guy with some godlike tendencies to play with the people beneath him.
The guy with the god complex who actually could back it up.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like one of the Klingons said about Captain Kirk in the original series, similar about Nova, would be that he's a swaggering dictator with delusions of godhood.
Sadly, he almost has that level of power thanks to cybernetics. But
Yep.
Yeah.
Stories of other guys.
When I get around to writing probably chapter 13 or 14, yeah, let's just say that yeah, it's not going to be good for Alita.
Yeah.
Nova is going to like seriously try to impede her.
Okay, Darkstar Shadow has an interesting question. What are your guys' thoughts on putting a cast of characters for readers to keep up with at the beginning of the chapters?
I'm not entirely sure what you're getting at. I mean, something besides like the main cast of characters the story is centered around, like side characters or something, or
I think what he's saying is like a list of the main characters in the chapter and what they've been up to, like a quick summary of what's been happening with them, just so people don't have to go back and reread 3 or 4 chapters to try and get the story back into their heads, especially with something that's released in a sort of a slow drip format.
Yeah,
it would make it easier for them to get back up to speed.
Yeah, if you're writing a short, you don't have to really do that. But if you're writing novel length stuff like you two are doing, that's probably something worth considering, I think.
Mm.
I mean, what you could do very easily is just get Gemini to do a quick, like one paragraph summary of what happened in the previous chapter. That could often help, and it wouldn't take much at all. You remember last time, blah 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 happened, and we continue kind of thing. But to have a dramatis personae at the beginning of every chapter and what they've been up to, that would take a considerable effort.
It might. Maybe every if it's something like that, maybe like every 5th chapter or something, maybe, or
maybe every sort of major turning point, sort of time. If it's there's a time skip or something happens that changes the course of the story, it might be a good time to do something like that.
Well, any last thoughts, you guys? Let's start with you, Maxie, since Lee was reading his story. Any last?
Go on, Lee. Tell everybody what my last thought is.
Chapter 31 is very close to done. I'm really close. I'm hoping you get the damn thing done. I am actually thinking I'm going to make a minor change here. You said you were willing to do beta reading for me.
Yeah.
I might go ahead and get what I've got that's not entirely done yet. Shoot it in your direction. See what you think of it.
Happy to give you feedback, man.
Okay.
Anytime.
Yeah.
All righty.
I got 2 chapters for you to give me feedback on too.
Yes, and hopefully I'll be able to actually get around to them finally.
Yes, you've finally broken up that love affair with your kitchen floor.
Yeah, love affair. I swear, I ever see another vinyl plank in my life.
Oh gosh, what's this dark stuff?
He'll be putting down vapor seals on his bed sheets before you know it. Just put them everywhere.
Dark Star Shadow, I don't think you should worry about that. If you look at Maxie's, you consider Maxie's story and Lee's particularly, I mean, 11 and 31 chapters respectively. I don't know if yours is longer than that or what.
Well, Archive of Our Own also allows you to do that summary at the start of a chapter. So that's usually what I try to do with mine.
Creaky, his 3 works are about 4 times longer than Lee's.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a overarching epic, basically.
It's almost he's in the 900,000 word.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know.
Yes,
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's basically got sort of like 3 books, as it were, that each one
He's got 3 book series.
Maybe you should post.
Well, yeah, they're lengthy.
Maybe you should post that in the game network.
Oh, I think he did. He put up Shattered Mirror, the first one.
Okay.
In the in the Alita.
Every time I hear that name, I think Star Trek. They had that title in there somewhere. I think it had to do with the mirror universe.
Thank you for the likes on 2 fictional beer label images. yeah, they are kind of neat. I love that because I'm a big fan of Oktoberfest, and that kind of reminded me of these women that are in Germany. You go out to they have these big gathering under tents and stuff like that. And they'll carry up to like 5 beers in each hand. That's kind of what it reminded me of.
Not just beers, Creaky. We're talking steins.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's
like a liter of beer.
A liter of beer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, in Germany, that is just a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scarily.
Especially in Oktoberfest.
Yeah, to Germans, it is just a beer. Yeah. So anyway.
Well, the rest of the world likes their livers and bladders, so we don't have that generally.
Oh, I got a liter of beer. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
That's what he was alluding to, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, he's over 1 million. I thought it was in the 900,000s, but my quick calculation must have been off slightly.
Yeah. Okay, what's this? I think I'm doing motorball games. Yes. Anyway, Lee, I know that it's your story, but any final thoughts? I mean, don't give away what you've got in the future here, but give us your thinking about various ways you might.
Hold on, sorry. Oh, sorry, my fiance came down. She was yelling for somebody.
Oh, okay.
Come again?
So yeah, give us your thoughts about. I mean, not to spoil anything, but give us your thoughts about some considerations on maybe future chapters, or how far you might go, or possible, journeys for Jason and Alita in your story, for that matter. So,
well, I had actually envisioned Jason basically becoming a modern day paladin. On the order of the Holy Knights of for crying out loud, I can't believe I'm
the Knights Templar.
No, not the Knights Templar.
Oh,
it was Charlemagne, King Charlemagne.
Oh, Charlemagne, yes.
Yeah, they were basically historically they were like the original paladins. So basically a mix between the real historical paladins and sort of like a D&D paladin kind of thing.
One thing that occurred to me before the stream today, I was thinking about, is that I was thinking that maybe Lee might consider, the anomaly coming back and transporting or teleporting Jason back to the exact instant that he got teleported away. And when he gets back there, he's in his regular body because he's back in that time. And you know what I'm saying? And he's only been gone in that time that he got teleported from. He's only been gone just a few seconds.
It's an interesting thought, but
yeah, I mean, that's just something I thought about, you know, I mean, because it would be, you know, he would drive back to his home. Vanessa would be there, and she wouldn't be any the wiser, and she would notice this look on his face.
it'd be kind of a Alice in Wonderland sort of thing,
Yeah,
where like nobody else would
yeah.
believe him,
Yeah,
and he starts to wonder after a while if it all was in his head.
yeah.
Just somehow went through some kind of psychotic episode.
Or did he just dream it?
I considered that, I think, briefly, but I decided I'm going to go with Jason is now stuck where he is, and he has to come to terms with his new life. And one of the things he's going to start doing is looking at all the injustices that are the result of the factories overbearing bullshit, and maybe trying in some little ways to start doing something about them.
Anyway, it's going to be interesting to see what you come up with. How many more chapters do you think you'll, without giving us any of the content, how many more chapters do you think you're going to come up with?
Well, the cutoff, I'm still planning the cutoff at being 40, but it may end up being sooner than that, because once Nova starts taking an interest in Jason in any way,
Yeah,
it's going to be time for Jason to get the hell out of Iron City.
yeah.
So it may be 35, 36 chapters, maybe less. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and you can't kill Nova because he's got so much plot armor.
Oh, you can't kill him because he's up in Zalem, too. You
Yeah,
can't get up
that's
there to do anything to him.
Yeah,
Can't even shake your fist angrily in his face.
yeah. You can point a Damascus blade at him, though.
Yes, which is about all that's been happening so far to him. So
Well,
and Jason hasn't been the one doing it.
Yeah, that's right. Alita has for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, my final thought is I'm you know, I'm enjoying reading it. I did start reading chapter 29,
Mhm.
and then I had to cut it off, you know, because something came up. But anyway, I'll get to that. But one other thought is I did start working on a sequel, not the sequel. I wish it was that, but a sequel to my own short. It'll just be another short. You know, it won't be. It's not going to be a novel like you or Maxie write or Dark Star or Shadow write. You know, I'm just short. You know, but. Because, you know, one of the things I've gotten into lately, listening to some of these science fiction videos on YouTube, you know, about, you know, I think it's, you know, humans, HFY, you know, hell fucking yeah means, you know, but I've been watching that, doing something, kind of enjoying them. And it's kind of, and then listening to your story, knowing that Maxie's done a story, you know, I said, well, maybe I need to get back on my little old sequel. You know, I mean, you know,
You're theoretically retired now, man. You should be able to.
yeah, mostly retired, I guess. Whereas before I was mostly not retired, but kind of retired.
By the way, HFY stands for humans. Fuck yeah.
That's what I said, wasn't it?
Nope.
Not quite. Close.
You said hell fucking yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
Like I said, it was close.
Yeah. The sentiment's the same. Anyway, as you can see from that center panel there, Alita does love her Uncle Creek, and that's because he wants a sequel. And of course, everybody on this panel wants 8 sequels.
Yep.
And we want merch, and we want more anime, and we want a
Video
live
games
series. We want a video game. Come on, Disney, give it to us. You know,
I mean, they've got 2 games of Avatar. They can't give us one of Alita.
Yeah, seriously. You know, I mean, yeah, we got the what is it, the Martian Memory, but that's old 90s game. You know, we need a modern game. You know, although I do enjoy watching Chaos play that Martian Memory game, but you know, it's early 90s, late 80s graphics. You know, I mean, I don't know.
It is a little dated.
Yes. So anyway, but if you got a problem with Alita loving her Uncle Creep because he wants a sequel, you can take it up with her and face that plasma weapon. Kind of like that guy in Lee's story today. He had to face that plasma weapon. So anyway, that's that, you know. And there's our queen right there. And man, is she sweet. But yeah, we, you know, definitely we are really fortunate that that Robert Rodriguez picked her to be Alita. You know, I mean, that's just, what is this here, Dark Star Shadow? In case you might actually enjoy my original work, I love the brain eating squid from outer space. Oh my God. Okay, that sounds like a 50s sci-fi thing. So, but anyway, yeah, we're really lucky that Rosa was picked to portray Alita, you know, because she knocked it out of the park, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, that is a nice picture. You know, I haven't seen a bad picture of Rosa yet. So she's really nice looking, you know, for sure. And I want to give a shout out to Eldamont and Jesse Fisher because they brought Screwhead to life. And of course, my druthers, as they would say down Southeast US, is I want to see Alita and Screwhead team up and take on Joshigan in Alita 2, you know, is what I want to see. You know, it's kind of like Elle said, you know, when we interviewed her, it was about 3 years ago, wasn't it, Maxie? 3 or 4 years ago, even.
Time gets by, man. Yeah, it was a while back.
Yeah, it was a while back there. She said, you know, that Screwhead was pissed off, you know, because Vector kind of conned her, you know, and kind of took advantage of her, and she's all pissed off about it. And she goes to Alita and, you know, makes up with her and says, hey, girl, I'm with you. Let's just burn it all down. I love that. And of course, you know, Jessie Fisher, you know, Elle said that Jessie Fisher was the most badass stunt woman she ever worked with. So, you know, all three of them deserve to be in that sequel. You know, they certainly do, I think. Maxie, I have a sneaking suspicion that you were working on the thumbnail while we were listening to release.
Not just the thumbnail, man.
Oh, and the advertisement.
Well, I wanted to, but someone hadn't done the instance yet.
Yeah, well, that doesn't stop you from doing the thumbnail, Maxie.
Anyway, thumbnail, Creaky. I just have to press 100 friggin' buttons to show it to you.
So anyway, you want to talk about this, Maxie, or you want me to?
Hang on.
Oh, there it is. That rascal. He did this on purpose just to get my goat, as they would say.
Well, you got my goat, so it's only fair. So anyway, we did the wordsmiths last week. Now we're doing the artists this week. So we're doing a art live stream. It's show us your faves. We don't intend to be negative about this, so we're not going to be picking apart anybody's work. We're just going to show them and say, hey, we like this, and share them with you. It's going to kind of be like a slower version of what Creaky puts together at the start of the streams while we're waiting for the time to click over. Yeah, so if you've got any particular favorite art that you would like to talk about and bring on, we might actually do what happens on this stream and throw the session link into the live chat, and you can come on, show us the artwork that you love, have a quick talk about it, and jump off if that is about all you can handle as far as being on the panel is concerned. But do consider finding your favorites, and you can either DM us the links and say what you like about it in the text chat, or jump on and actually tell us what you think about the artwork. But it's your favorites. Don't find one and go, oh, I don't like this because blah, blah, blah. We're not being negative. We're being positive about the fanfics last week and the artwork this week. So do join us for that one.
Yeah, I'll invite KranberriJam. She came on last week at the after party, which was kind of neat. And then let's see, Matu maybe. I haven't heard from Matu for a while, so I don't know if she's she's doing something else or whatever, you know. But
and I should also say that Channel will be doing one of her How to Draw Alita instructional sessions. So if you've been following along with those, do come and join us, and you can learn a bit more about how to draw Alita.
Yes.
For all the budding artists out there.
I got a couple of faves I'm going to put in there, but not too many. You know, give
only 500 or 600, Creaky.
Yeah, I'll have to pick and narrow it down to 3 or 4.
100.
Yeah, or something. Yes. So anyway, all right, go join us tomorrow for that. We're gonna have a lot of fun there. You know, it's like Maxie says, we'll put a link in the chat, and you can jump on with us if you want to show us a couple of your faves as well. Also, if you are interested, basically you can come on and talk to us after the stream today. We have a little after party called the Stammtisch, which in German means a regulars table. And we don't really have a table. It's a virtual table, actually. But the table is that link you see right there. You click on it, you go in backstage. And I will not bring you in until the stream is over, because this is not streamed or recorded or anything like that. And it's also another neat way that, you know, if you're a little reticent about coming on a stream, and you can go like baby steps, you can say, well, I would just go to this after party and see what it's like talking to the guys on the, you know, on the panel and stuff like that. You know, we would love to have you. And we do some cool things. You know, we'll show pictures. We'll do videos. Of course, Lee and Maxie will talk author stuff, you know, because they always do, because that's who they are. And we just have a good old time here. It's kind of like a Zoom call, actually, is what it's like. So nobody on the internet sees this. Only us that are here on the instance will see you. But that'll be after the stream has ended. So you don't have to worry about, you know, your avatar getting out there, or if you turn your camera on if you want. You don't have to, you know, and you're worried about that, so you don't have to worry about that. We are the Alita Army. We are the most positive, damn, getting tongue-tied here. We're the most positive fandom on the internet. We support Alita and Rosa passionately and positively. And we are here to stay. And we are going to keep doing this until we get that sequel. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to continue to do this whether we get a sequel or not. I'm just going to keep going. You know, it's kind of like I was telling Lee, you know, in the year 2563, when Jason and Alita are kind of piling around there in the future, I'll be up in the stands holding up an Alita Army banner. Yep. And I'll still be doing this. So anyway, you know, we are, we just, we love this character. We love Rosa, and we love the IP, and that's, you know, that's us. That's who we are now, you know, and we're all in this together, you know, all of us. You know, we just want to keep Alita current, and we will get that sequel. And as Maxie says, I don't want to live in a universe without an Alita sequel. So that's that. Why is this image here? Well, that image is there because I like it. And to paraphrase Gruwishka, I'm only here for our girl and our queen and the Alita Army. And that only leaves us with one thing left to do, and that would be, on my count of 3, the call to action. 1, 2, 3.
Build those sequels, baby.
We will see you tomorrow on Radio Chaos, and we will see you next week on the Alita live stream. Bye.
Take care, guys.
What's up, Alita Army? This is Hot Toys Alita, and I hope you enjoyed this week's Alita live stream. Please join my Uncle Creek, Angelus, and our other guests for next week's show. Remember, I do not stand by in the presence of evil, and film those sequels, baby. See you next time.
No cause is lost, if there was but one fool left to fight for it.
Yeah, Gary, that'd be nice.